Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Dereck Unboxing. Please give the channel a like and a subscribe if you feel so inclined. I would greatly appreciate it. There's a very good card on England, and I've said in my previous analysis, if you want to put some money in an underdog, you can go for Charlie Edwards, because I think he's a live underdog, even though I picked Mtalane in that fight. There's another thing going on there where you might want to look at an underdog. I would wait for the weigh-in though. I won't have time to do a review event, so I have to do it now. I can't wait until then. But Joseph Parker, the heavyweight fight, the heavyweight contender, former WBO heavyweight champion of the world from New Zealand, is taking on the perennial warhorse Dereck Chisora. Now, over the years, I sort of developed a soft spot for Chisora because he's the guy who just won't go away. You know, he's always interesting. I don't like his out of ring shenanigans, but it seems like he's got that sort of under control now. But every time you think he's done, he comes back and then he's in another fight again. I mean, when David Hay knocked him out, it's one guy that really got rid of him and dominated him quickly. We thought it would be the end for Chisora. Strung together a nice string of wins, fought Tyson Fury again, and then the first fight was a competitive, evenly a very good, well contested fight, and the second fight Fury just completely broke him down, and I thought, okay, that's the end for Chisora. But he keeps coming back. He's had war after war, two absolute wars with Dillian Whyte, another British fighter who's basically the best of the rest. When you take Josh Fury and perhaps Wilder out of the equation, and he's beaten some good sort of C or B level fighters, for Arthur Spilkas, the David Prices, and he has a very good knockout over Carlos Takam. Was another war, and he goes through war after war after war, and every time you think he must have too much wear and tear on the clock now, surely there's not more left in the well, and then he comes up with something more. On the flip side, sometimes he just doesn't have it, and he seems like he's sleepwalking through it, and that's how he loses decisions like to guys like Agit Kabayel. But in his last fight, he was motivated, he went for it, he fought Alexander Usyk, and he gave Usyk a lot of trouble, and he kept it close on the cards. You know, he went for Usyk, and he fought very well on the feet there, lost on points, but he didn't lose by much. Now he's up against Joseph Parker. Could this be Del Boy's big break, where he finally gets over the hump? And at his best, he was probably between number 9 and number 12, sort of fringe contender, but most of his career has been a sort of a high-level gatekeeper. Now, could this be the time where he gets over the hump and beats a proper contender and gets himself in that queue for the heavyweight championship? I think he has never had as good a chance as he will have on Saturday night, and I'll tell you why. It's just hard to say, because Chisora is a 32-10 fighter, double-digit losses, but Parker, 28-2, has looked really bad as of late to my eyes. You know, he's lost to Dillian Whyte in a fight that he should have won. He got knocked down, he got up, and he almost had Whyte out in the last round, and he couldn't finish the job. Strung together a nice couple of wins since then, but over the guys he's supposed to beat, guys like Alex Leapai and that sort of opponent that he eventually stops. But then again, he fought an undefeated guy just a short while back, Junior Fa. Awful fight, big tough guy in Fa, who can't really punch, who was there to sort of try and fight a tactical fight and steal rounds, and Parker was sort of quasi-effectively to ineffectively aggressive. He won that decision on aggression. He just jumped in with left hooks and into a clinch. Awful fight. And to me, since Parker stepped up in opposition, I was very high on Parker at one stage. Quick hands, I really liked him. You know, Carlos Takam was a close fight. Then he won the title against Andy Ruiz, squeaked by in a decision. But okay, he looked awful against Hughie Fury, but who doesn't? I can. But then Razvan Koyano, he shouldn't have struggled with guys like that. And against Anthony Joshua, fair enough, he was the first guy to take Josh over distance, but he also never really, to me, it's almost like he doesn't want to take a risk. He's a bit wary now that he's on that level, and you're not going to get yourself over and be a heavyweight champion again with a safety first approach. So if he's going to put on the performance he put on against Junior Fa, there's rumors that there's also injuries involved. If that's true, there's injuries and stuff that he's dealing with. And if he's going to put on the kind of performance he did against Junior Fa, I think Del Boy is going to work him over and win a decision. Now, Chisora he's not a one and done puncher, but he can punch. If you give him enough room and run up, look at the right hand that he used to take Carlos Takam out. If you take their performances against common opponents, Chisora had a war when he was hurt, but he knocked Takam out. Takam took Parker quite to the edge. If you compare those performances, on his best day, if Del Boy is switched on, if Dereck Chisora is in the mood for war and he goes for it, like he did against Dylan White, like he did against Alexander Usyk, that kind of performance against this sort of lackadaisical, not quite putting it together Parker, could get him over the hump and could cause the upset win for him. Will he do it? Now, I've had egg on my face over Dereck Chisora before. I kind of liked the version of him in between the loss to David Haye in the second Fury fight, but when he just blew a gasket against Fury, Fury was just too good. I think we also underestimated Fury at that stage of his career, and so that's what makes me nervous about Dereck Chisora. If you can get Chisora in the about 250 pounds or just below that, then usually he looks good, and then I'll give him a good crack against Parker. But then again, Fa was a tall guy who stood there and didn't really want to fight, held a lot, made Parker's job difficult, but Parker should have done better under circumstances. Chisora can only fight one way. He's the shorter guy. I believe their reaches are more or less the same. But Chisora is not going to jab, go into a jabbing contest. He has to come and put the pressure on, and that's when he's good. And if Parker is going to put in the same sort of intensity that he's put in his last fights, he's not gonna make it against Dereck Chisora. But I do think that Chisora is an easier style for Parker, because he doesn't have to go and look for him. He comes straight at him. He hasn't got the quick hands on the inside that Andy Ruiz has. Carlos Takam had his moments against Parker, certainly. But I think Parker, if he steps on the gas, if he puts it together, he's got the hands to land the more meaningful shots, perhaps score a knockdown, and he should try and get Chisora out of there. So my pick is going to be Parker by a decision. I think it's going to be a close-ish decision. I think it's not going to be too much in it, but I think he'll score a knockdown at some point, or just wobble Chisora enough. But because I think Chisora is maybe just what the doctor ordered to make Parker fight. If Chisora makes Parker fight and Parker performs to the talent that we know he has, he should win this fight. If he is going to fight sort of half-heartedly safety first, he's going to lose this fight, providing Del Boy is okay. So Chisora just a little bit too up and down for me to say he's going to win. But I think he's very live. If I'm a gambling man, I'll take a chance, which I'm not. But I'm going to go with a chalk. I think Chisora is an easier style for Parker to deal with than Junior Fa is. So I'm going with Joseph Parker to win this one on points. But I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it will be an interesting fight. And until we see each other again, enjoy the boxing from Manchester on Saturday night. And remember to keep those gloves up.